By them, they're still teens. These are the duo Mobisade siblings. They are the prodigy of Indonesian music industry, of course, and just brings some color and some flair, and that is some jazz flair. I love it.
A little bit of jazz in the morning, right? Perfect kind of music.
Correct. So, of course, if you want to keep us, connected with us, you can also follow our social media at our handle Today News. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and also Twitter.
All right, and good morning as well to all of our viewers who are now joining us via Foxtel's Flash Australia, Macau Cable TV Channel 84, Vision Philippines Channel 58, Air Cable Philippines, and our friends in Singapore on Singtel Channel 15 and StarHub Channel 720. All right, let's get into our first story.
Let's go. So, indeed, we're now going to head to our first story. We're going to go fly away to the United States, where the American rapper Takeoff, best known for his work with the Grammy-nominated trio Migos, was killed in an early Tuesday shooting outside bowling alley in Houston.
Local police responded shortly after 2:30 a.m. local time to reports of a shooting at 810 Billiards and Bowling, where dozens of people had gathered on a balcony outside of the third-floor bowling alley. Officers discovered one man dead as they arrived.
The security guards who were in the area heard the shooting but did not see who did it. 2 other people were injured and taken to hospitals in private vehicles.
Takeoff was the youngest member of rap trio Migos from suburban Atlanta that also featured his uncle Quavo and cousin Offset. They first broke through with the massive hit Versace in 2013. The song was then in turn remixed by Drake, heightening its popularity.
At approximately 2:30 this morning, our officers were dispatched out here to a shooting that had just occurred. Upon arrival, they located multiple shell casings on the third level of the building at the 810 Bowling and Billiards. I guess it's a bowling and pool hall. We were informed that there was a private party being held at the event last night that ended at approximately 1 a.m., but the party carried over till about 2 a.m. till they were cleared out. That's when the shooting occurred, where it left one male deceased on scene, and 2 others that were transported to area hospitals nearby.
And right now, Takeoff's lawyer, Drew Finding, had told the New York Times that his death was a devastating loss, particularly for Atlanta. When you're around Takeoff, he said, there's a sense of peacefulness about his aura. He listens to you, he looks at you, and he's more focused on what you have to say than what he has to say. And the world was starting to learn about Takeoff, and it was his time to shine. Now, as just reported, Migos released their first mixtape. It's called Jug Season, right, in 2011, with their first major track, as Paul mentioned, was called Versace, that was released in 2013. Then the trio later on went to receive a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Album in 2018 for their album Culture, as well as for Best Rap Performance for their track Bad and Bougie. Now, the group reportedly split after Offset, who is married to Cardi B, this year, and they had rebranded themselves as Unk and Few, with Duo releasing their newest music video for their track Messy just this Monday, by the way.
Yeah, it was in time for Halloween. Obviously, this is sad. I love Migos. I love that. And it's either you love them or you hate them, because they did introduce a new style. They revolutionized rap music. Originally, they were called the Polo Club. And even back then, I remember the music wasn't as mainstream now, because I think they're a little bit ahead of their time. Takeoff had once said that music offered the trio, who were all related, an escape route from poverty. He said, told the Fader magazine that growing up, I was trying to make it in music. I was grinding, which is just what I love doing. I didn't have nothing else to do. And what a great success story from someone that didn't have it. They became, not long after, one of the most influential groups of the generation, pioneering a style of rapping in these choppy staccato triplets. It came to be known as the Migos flow, and you hear so many other rappers doing it these days, but they were definitely one of the first with that new sound. He'll definitely be missed. I know Migos did break up already. Yeah, and going more on what you said about his character and his personality, he was the quietest. That's why most people know Quavo, obviously, because you love basketball. He's always at the All-Star game, playing in the celebrity game. You obviously, you also know Offset because of his relationship with Cardi B. But Takeoff as the one that it's the quietest one, the youngest one. But both Quavo and Offset, I had also said that he was the one that thinks the most out of all of them.
Right, and you know, this has really been, I know, such a devastating, news, especially in the music industry in America, including Snoop Dogg, right? And he put it on his post that he said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and rest in peace to all the fallen soldiers, including, I can't kill my brother, and it's just, this time has to stop," because we've seen a lot, especially, on the Black American community, rappers or R&B's, artists that got shoot around just like that, and life does matter, and hopefully these things would, subside and, be better too.
Yes, definitely. There was a lot of suspicion that this obviously came from a conflict that happened in that same bowling alley. Hopefully the investigations can turn up the proper perpetrator, because apparently somebody did flee the scene.
Yes,
so
and what's the motive, right? Well, we need to know that too.
Yeah. All right. In the meantime, unfortunately, we have more shooting news for you as police responded to an active shooter situation near Newark, New Jersey, where 2 police officers were shot on Tuesday afternoon.
Both officers are believed to be in stable condition.
The shooting reportedly involved a suspect with a long gun. Reports of the incident started to come at around 2 p.m. local time near Van Velser Place and Chancellor Avenue.
Officers were seen sweeping the building from the roof on down looking for the suspect. The suspect has not been in custody, but police also have no contact with him. Elsewhere in the United States, there's also a shooting case where as many as 14 people were injured in a drive-by shooting.
The victims include 3 children in Chicago's Garfield Park neighborhood on Halloween evening. The 3 young victims are a 3-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a teenager who may be 13 years of age. The rest of the victims are adults whose ages ranged from their 30s to their 50s.
Now, additionally, one person was struck by a car where the Chicago Fire Department said it has sent at least 10 ambulances to the scene, and the victims were taken to several local hospitals, and their condition ranged from non-life-threatening injuries to critical condition. So an eyewitness who doesn't want to be mentioned is very familiar with the 2700 block of West Flammarion Street. He said a group of young kids on the east end of the block stand in the street and pull guns out and won't let you pass. Again, I'm underlining a group of young kids. Now, this person also said, the gunfire is a daily occurrence in that area. When the police come, they get yelled or even spit on. So this shooting, though, that has happened, this just happened, is occurred around 9 p.m. as people, again, celebrating Halloween. I think this Halloween, the year 2022, has a lot of tragedy. And others gathered for a vigil and balloon release. And this was stated by Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown. Again, as you mentioned, Pete, the wounded children is 3, 11, 13 years old. They were admitted to the hospitals in serious condition. And the other victims, as you also mentioned, was around 31 to 56, and 2 of them were listed in critical condition. And you were also mentioned there was a woman struck by a car. This is while trying to escape the shooting, but right now she is only in a fair condition with scrapes on her body. So no one was in custody in this, and police, as of just right now, the motive is still unclear. They don't have the perpetrator yet. And the block is one of the most violent police beats in the city, among 55 that has been targeted with extra resources by police over the last year. And this is according to the Sun-Times.
I cannot believe that we're reporting on 3 different shooting incidences from one country
simultaneously
in one day. I mean, and it involves so many different things. One is a conflict possibly between a rapper and other parties.
Right.
Another one is involving kids of all things, at least 3. And now that you mentioned that the suspects are children as well, just goes to show it's not the permits or the licensing, or it's just a mindset of people feel like they need to have guns. I know you mentioned it was a pretty rough neighborhood, but still, kids with guns, I mean, obviously they weren't, they didn't have the permits for it.
Yes.
And the fact that they undermine police authority in that area as well makes it that much scarier. That's not the only area like that in the United States, you know that.
Right.
There's just pockets of bad neighborhoods, and these things are going to continue to happen, and laws may not be able to help right away.
And they're very brutal to the law enforcement as the eyewitness said, right? So it seems like they're not scared of anything. Now, seeing this, and this is happening so much, right? I mean, we've been reporting this kind of incident like every month. Now, you were saying this 3 shooting, cases happening in just one day. I'm kind of thinking, like, why don't we, do the further step just like Canada did? I mean, what other casualties that you're going to wait for? How many life counts that you're going to wait for until you make that, very important decision?
Yeah, 227 shooting incidences in Canada in the year 2010, I believe.
Yeah.
And that even amounts for too much. It's almost 1 a day, if you think about it, and that's already too much for the Canadian government, so they took further steps. And if you look at the United States in comparison, when we're just neighbors, it's just thousands upon thousands of these things happening, and it's not getting any better.
Right.
All right. Speaking of not getting better, the COVID-19 situation seems to not want to go away over in China, as visitors to Shanghai Disneyland were temporarily blocked from leaving as part of COVID-19 testing procedures.
Walt Disney Company said the park closed on Monday for virus testing of staff and visitors. The city government added that all visitors had left by Monday night.
游客的检测结果完成，游客可以离园，我们将立即告知。乐园将继续提供有限运营，欢迎您在接下去的时间继续游玩。今晚6点至8点，我们将为每位游客免费提供一份晚餐。请在米奇好伙伴、美味集市、新露台餐厅、八公辣烧烤和老藤树实战中任意选择一家餐厅前去享用。
A park visitor said he was prevented from leaving the park by around 10 a.m. and were asked to take COVID tests.
Some amusement rides were seen operating for guests who were kept in the closed park. Park management offered a free dinner for visitors from a selection of restaurants.
And also a free churro, maybe? Now, footages also showed security guards line up setting a cordon to prevent visitors from leaving. Once the lockdown was lifted, visitors were seen separated into groups. It seems right now there is nothing that is untouchable, right, by China's strict zero COVID policy. We remember, just a couple of months ago, we reported that the Swedish giant IKEA was also closed and people were trying to get out and whatnot. Right. And now it's the happiest place on earth, Disney Shanghai. Now, again, it reported after there's 10 locally transmitted cases that had happened on Saturday. Okay. Now, as we're seeing right now in the footages, showing people rushing to the park gates, following by the announcement, but finding them already unlocked. Now, posting on China's social media site WeChat, the Shanghai government said the park was barring people from entering, and those inside could only leave once they return with a negative test result. Now, it added that no one who had visited the park since Thursday must provide 3 negative test results for the 3 consecutive days, and no date yet have been given for when the park will be open. And, this comes, after the extremes of earlier this month where Chinese President Xi Jinping signaled that there will be no easing up on zero COVID policy, which aims to wipe up all of the brakes and call it people's war to stop the spread of the virus. However, as mentioned before, those waiting for their result at Shanghai Disney can console themselves on the rides.
Yep.
Free dinner, free food and whatnot.
I was going to say, is that the worst thing in the world, to be locked down for a few hours at least at Disney?
I mean, it looks like it's until night, right? But
that's kind of fun.
The shops are still open.
Yes.
Shops will be open. All the restaurants are open. I would love to stay in the Mickey Mouse house and just have a rest. I mean, because I love Disney so much. No pun intended. I'm not saying this.
This particular site may scare me a little bit. It's like, hey. When are we allowed to leave? Like, if they told me, hey, you have to stay till 10 p.m.
Correct.
Oh, well, I'll just go around. Hey, free dinner as well. Yeah. Kids might get a little cranky, but, again, they did not know. It was a bit uncertain.
Exactly.
So it was a bit scary.
Would you know that you're going to come home or not? Are you going to, stay over or not? Yeah. Are you prepared for that?
Right. So this goes to show, you mentioned the zero COVID policy. Yeah. This policy is in full effect. Yes, it may have been several months now since Shanghai was locked down and reopened, but it's still very much very strong policy that continues to be in place. Now, Reuters quoted city authorities as saying that the resort actually shut its gates after authorities there became aware of a 31-year-old woman who had visited the park in recent days, and then she tested positive for coronavirus. So it's that particular area as well, and it goes to show that one person can set this whole thing off. When they say zero COVID, they mean it. Now, some 1.3 million residents in Shanghai's downtown Yangpu district have been ordered to stay home for virus testing on Friday Friday and was expected to be related to this same case. So perhaps places she visited and areas where she lives. Now, we also know that authorities in the southern territory of Macau were carrying out virus tests on all of its 700,000 residents after one case was found last week as well. So again, it can happen anywhere, anytime. You could be at home, you could be visiting an amusement park. Now, obviously, this has an effect on the economy. China, one of the biggest economies in the world. So Hong Kong's, and to prove this, it can go inversely. Hong Kong's main stock market index surged 5.2% on Tuesday after a comment circulated on Chinese social media that said that the ruling Communist Party might set up a reopening committee to look at ways to wind down the antivirus control. So they haven't even done anything. They just, and this was not even verified because the government ministry spokesperson said they're not aware of any of these strategies. But again, just the thought of that has even pumped up the economy a little bit, or at least picked it up. And we know what happens when they lock down. It brings everything completely down. So again, the economy has to be, we have to take the health of the economy into consideration and not just the health of people. Obviously, health of people is very important, but health of the economy, we can see what it can do. It can be debilitating.
But I'm just seeing how this policy is just so, I think it's
strict,
just very, it's very vigilant. And it seems that when someone is testing, I mean, sometimes we antigen at home, right? We do it, we do it ourselves and whatnot. And then when we know that we were affected or not, of course, we're going to, show our results and whatnot, right? But this is just, it's very severe. Can you imagine, like, you came home from an amusement park 3 days later, and then you get affected, and then the whole park is closed.
Sorry, guys.
With the people inside of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of people, even though they're reducing the capacity of people that can come into the Shanghai Disney, but there are still 1,000 people, every day that comes to Disneyland Park.
Well, let's hope they're able to contain it in these kind of small groups for shorter periods of time as opposed to what happened in Shanghai.
Indeed. All right, so we're going to take our first short break of the day, but when we return, we have news from around Southeast Asia. So stick around right here on the C Morning Show. We'll be right back.
Kulit itu untuk jadi jaket paling butuh 1 ekor atau 2 ekor domba. Ternyata setelah saya terjun di industri ini, saya baru tahu bahwa untuk membuat sebuah jaket kulit saja itu setidaknya membutuhkan sampai 4 ekor domba.
Lakukan aja yang bisa kita lakukan, hal sekecil apapun gitu yang bisa kita lakukan, ya lakukan saja gitu. Jangan sampai harus nunggu dulu, tapi lakukan aja hal sekecil apapun gitu.
Tulung Agung is a small city that stores many varieties of culture and culture based on local wisdom. The people of Tulung Agung in general have a culture or tradition that is passed down from generation to generation. One of them is the ancestral heritage of coffee. Coffee is not an original commodity from Tulung Agung Regency, but Tulung Agung typical coffee is part of the heritage in the era of the Dutch colonial.
We'll visit massive factories and master craftsmen. We'll experience unique ways in which things are made and even test some of them out. Rock and roll! Needless to say, this will be pretty epic. Oh, wow. I'm Justin Bratton. Join me as I uncover some of the best, the most colorful, and the most innovative bespoke products on the market today.
Siapa sejak dini untuk masa depan. Arahnya sangat visi misi.
Visioner, bukan visi misi. Kalau visi misi, visi foya, misi foya, visi misi, foya, foya. Oh, digambar cakep, Sel. Digambar ya lumayan. Tapi lumayan jelek.
Welcome back to Theory of Everything. We will round up some of the biggest or craziest theories that have been circulating around the web and then stuck on your head, such as fan theories that audiences have about movies, shows, comics, or anything really. When the initial trailer for Doctor Strange 2, it was clear Wanda Maximoff held a prominent role in the film, though whether she'd play friend or foe to Benedict Cumberbatch lead remain in question.
What makes a new place feel like home, I always believe it's about the people and the community.
I love the tomato sauce. There's just But I always say that dish of signature.
And food often the best way to connect them all.
Ooh, this one really good.
Restaurants for me is the beating heart of a city. That is why I love exploring new places. Follow me while I'm visiting the most exciting eating places around cities only on See Indonesia.
Welcome back, everyone. You're still with us here on the C Morning Show. It's time now for us to see what's making headlines across Southeast Asia. Starting in the Philippines, where President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. on Tuesday blamed years of deforestation for a deadly mudslide that buried a mountainside community amidst last week's torrential rains set off by a storm that has left more than 130 people dead across the nation. The president pointed out to the provincial governor how the mudslides cascaded on denuded slopes of Mount Minandar.
From the Philippines, we're going to head over to Thailand, where a fugitive in connection with an alleged human trafficking was caught in Kanchanaburi on Monday. Central Investigation Bureau said that Thai woman believed to be an agent supplying Rohingya to work in Malaysia was arrested after 7 years on the run.
And last but not least, from Laos, where construction process of an international airport in Ton Phuong District, Bokeo Province, is now at 86% of completion. The facility is scheduled to open for domestic flights by the end of this calendar year. The airport will offer return flights from Vientiane to Bokeo on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays of every week, and will open for international travel soon afterwards. All right, let's get into some news from around the region as Chinese Premier Li Keqiang, top legislator Li Zhanshu, and top political advisor Wang Yang met with the Communist Party of Vietnam, or CPV, General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong in Beijing on Tuesday.
During the meeting, Keqiang stated that both countries share broad common interests. The premier further said China is willing to implement the consensus the two sides have already reached. The country will make full use of convenient conditions such as geographical proximity and complementary industrial advantages to upgrade bilateral economic and trade cooperation.
For his part, Trong said Vietnam stands ready to work with China to implement their consensus to further increase mutual understanding, promote cooperation, seek common development, enhance their comrades and brothers relationship, and bring concrete benefits to both countries.
Meanwhile, Australia Foreign Minister Penny Wong met on Tuesday with her Thai counterpart Don Pramudwinana for talks on regional issues including climate action and COVID-19 economic recovery.
The two ministers signed an agreement on a joint plan of action to implement a strategic partnership between Thailand and Australia, detailing a 4-year plan on military and economic cooperation and collaborations on climate change and post-pandemic recovery.
Wong will also meet with Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan on Wednesday as the two countries mark 70 years of diplomatic relations.
The Australian foreign minister has visited 2 nations in Southeast Asia as part of her overseas trip to boost Australia's relationship with countries around the region.
Australia and Thailand trade is worth $21.6 billion annually, and Thailand is Australia's 3rd largest trading partner among Southeast Asian countries.
What I would say is we share many of the same aspirations for the region in which we live. Ultimately, Australia seeks, and I believe Thailand also seeks, a region that is peaceful and predictable, a region that is governed by accepted rules and norms where all countries and all peoples can cooperate, can trade and thrive, a region in which sovereignty is respected regardless of size.
All right, moving on to the island nation of Singapore, where they're facing yet another wave of COVID-19, mostly due to a new Omicron XBB subvariant.
Health Ministry said that the case will likely peak in mid-November. RC Today contributor Basir Siswo have all the details.
Singapore may have to reintroduce compulsory wearing of masks and social distancing measures if the country's daily COVID-19 infection rate continue to rise. Since early October, more people are getting infected, with the number hitting almost 12,000 daily at its peak. According to the Ministry of Health, 15% of those recently infected by the new XBB COVID-19 variant were reinfected the second time. It appears the virus is highly contagious and could even infect those who have been fully vaccinated and received booster jabs. Health officials here are now concerned that if this reinfected number hit 50%, the country could be facing a second wave of pandemic in mid-November. But while there has been a spike in infection, the number of severe cases have remained relatively low. Patients requiring intensive and urgent medical treatment in hospitals are also small in number. Most of those infected say they suffer only mild symptoms.
I've been vaccinated and even had booster jab, but was still infected. But the symptoms were mild, just like fever and cough. By the 5th day, I was already negative and could go out.
Although the government has given the assurance it will not be in any hurry to reimpose the strict COVID-19 precaution guidelines, Singaporeans are not taking any risk. Many are wearing masks in both indoor and outdoor public places as a safety measure against infection. Wearing masks seems to be back in fashion, even when it is no longer compulsory in public places 3 months ago. Many had kept their masks on as a matter of habit and extra precaution.
Although the current spike in infection has stabilized over the last 1 week to about 5,000 cases daily, Singaporeans are still not taking any chances. Many are bracing for the expected second wave of viral infection in mid-November. This is Basir Siswo, reporting for C Today from Singapore.
It's good to know from Basir Siswo right there, our CTD correspondent, that everything is just seems so stable right now, because mid-October, and that is exactly October 14th, where the Ministry of Health had given us the stats and also the numbers of cases that hospitalized requiring oxygen supplementation, intensive care unit or the ICU, at around 562, 44 and 9 respectively, compared to 365, 37 and 13 a week ago. So it seems that it is now more subsidized. I mean, it's becoming more and more stable. It's more declining. But based on the current information just that was stated, that the Ministry of Health expects that XXB infections wave will peak around mid-November of this year.
Okay, so thanks for those numbers or statistics. You know, I'm a sports guy. I love my statistics. However, I don't have any numbers for you. I do have an anecdote, because I just was with a friend this past weekend from Singapore. They do make frequent trips back and forth from Singapore to Indonesia.
Right.
Basically, what this is the F1 wave, they're calling it.
Oh.
At least between some Singaporeans.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, this is the F1 wave. So we basically had a huge event with F1, big performances. Everyone came out. It was outdoors, so most, you know, we don't have to wear masks in many places anymore in Singapore anyway.
Yeah.
And he said, and after that, all my friends got COVID. And it was like, but it was, as mentioned by Basir, there's a report, most of it was mild. In fact, a lot of people recovered in just a matter of several days. So it's just a wave that hopefully, as long as those fatality numbers of serious hospitalizations don't come up as well, and it's just a number of positive cases, then, you know, perhaps we can continue to get stronger and fight off any current or future variants.
Okay, you know, I think we've always been reporting, kind of discussed right here in the Morning Show, right? This is the same way as flu, because sometimes flu, you know, sometimes you'll get the light flu and sometimes you get the most severe flu and whatnot. So this is happening also that a friend of mine, they got, because there's a lot of people asking, do you get the Omicron or the XXB? I'm like, we really we can't really test which COVID are you getting. But it seems that she said, because she got the Omicron one, once it was like waving on high peak. So now she got it too. And she said, this is just more mild. It's like me having a little like sniffles.
Correct. That would
better.
make sense, wouldn't it? Because I'm not a doctor, obviously, but it is a form, a subvariant of Omicron.
Right.
So if she's already got Omicron before, then most likely then you have some sort of resistance to it.
Yes.
Perhaps not from transmission, but at least for the symptoms. So hopefully it continues to get milder and milder if we start to see these kind of cases happening again.
Right. It's just the name is just getting more confusing.
Yeah, now we're just using letters.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like a car. Anyway, so we're going to move on to another country that has also seen some easing of restrictions in recent months, as residents in the Philippines were able to mark All Saints' Day on Tuesday without any coronavirus pandemic restrictions for the first time in years.
Large crowds of mourners were seen visiting the graves of their loved ones at cemeteries all across Manila.
Millions of people in the Philippines visited cemeteries on Tuesday to honor the dead on the occasion of All Saints' Day, which was celebrated after the gap of 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Filipino people went to churches to pray for the souls of their dead and visited the graves of their loved ones with flowers, candles, and food, undeterred by the rain that has lashed most parts of the country. This day is celebrated in the Philippines in a festive atmosphere, with families spending much of the day, sometimes from the night before, next to the tomb of their deceased, even singing karaoke or taking selfies.
Siyempre masaya kami kasi matagal kaming hindi nakadalaw dito. Kasi alam mo naman mga Pilipino very sentimental when it comes to ganyan na All Saints Day. Kasi dyan lang yung feeling namin na parang makakasama namin sila ulit. Kahit hindi physical, yung may padama man lang namin sa kanila na importante at mahal pa rin na hindi sila nawawala sa isip namin.
In the densely populated capital of Manila, thousands of families honored their loved ones at the Marikina Cemetery, where colorful niches were arranged on top of each other in blocks, separated by intricate corridors. The Philippines, which is the only Catholic majority nation in Asia along with Timor-Leste, is considered the second country that most celebrates the Day of the Dead after Mexico. All Saints' Day is known in the Philippines as Undas, or Day of the Dead, which for some also includes the commemoration of all the faithful departed, which is held on November the 2nd.
Now, we've just seen the footages all together, right? We've seen all cemeteries are flocked by visitors, by loved ones who want to, pay a visit and respect and love to their loved ones, too. But, this year is very different because some cemeteries are being soaked in floodwater and mud due to the tropical storm that happened, right? So, as if you remember, more than 100 people had left, had been killed and left dozens missing. However, the rain did not stop Filipinos from spending most of the day by the tombs of their deceased. And one person in particular, Leonardo Flamore, he said, even a typhoon would not have stopped me from coming here today. In Manila, in Manila North Cemetery alone, more than 200,000 people were estimated to have come and visited to pay their respect and love.
That's nice. So, by the way, happy Day of the Dead. It's actually today, but they range different dates.
Right.
October 30 or 31st. All the way up to November the 6th. People sometimes have days-long celebrations.
Right.
We were just talking about the movie Coco yesterday.
Yeah, isn't it? And this is the same, right?
Yeah, Dia de los Muertos, right? Every year around this time, I feel like watching that movie again.
Yeah.
Every country I notice has a different way to celebrate. Like for us, it's usually around Ramadan when we visit, so it's not always a set day that we do that, but it's become a tradition, a religious one at that as well.
Yeah.
So it's nice. We need to pay our respects and remember our past in order to know our future.
During the blue skies and even rain, right? It seems. All right, so everyone, we're going to take another break right now, but when we come back, we'll have local updates from Indonesia. So get your cup of joe, and we'll be right back. P and I will be right here.
Hey buddies, welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk with me, Paul Palelli. Let's say hello to Bibo and the Buds. Hey guys! Oh, this is your assistant, Trey.
Hi, my name is Palelli. For us, going like solo right now is like a refreshing. I'm actually not good at acting because I'm too real.
Well, it's time for another Buddy Challenge. It's the only word I know.
MD-nya ada panjangnya tuh. Apa tuh? My Dream.
Oke, bisa baca ngalam?
Bisa.
Coba.
Matur suwun.
Wah, cuma segitu saja.
Snake specialist Nirut Chomnas has dedicated the last 20 years of his life to the study of these reptiles. Snakes are born survivors, able to endure the toughest conditions, and they've adapted well to a range of habitats across Thailand.
Longing for a short getaway where you can be away from people but still be productive?
You can! Come down here at Bidadari Island where you can learn a thing or two about the history.
This paradise island is more than just white sands and Tuscan blue waters.
You're not an outdoorsy type? Well, so am I. Don't be dismissive of the idea because
we're gonna get in touch with nature and hopefully have fun while at it. See the beauty only on See Indonesia.
Come see the beauty only on See Indonesia.
Hi, my name is Grace.
Haven't you eaten since morning?
Not yet.
Ada yang harus saya konsumsi nggak ya, Dok? Tarik nafas yang dalam.
Very good afternoon to all of you, and for the next few hours we'll bring you the latest from Indonesia, Southeast Asia and around the world.
With more of a whisper than a resounding clang, Greece has shed another restriction dating back to its painful financial bailout.
Schools in Demak regions in central Java have become Thai-toe alba owls conservationists. These barn owls are considered friends with farmers as they can help to prey on rats in rice fields.
Back to the C Morning Show, everyone. It's time for us to update you on some local news. The first one is sports related, as on Tuesday, the Indonesian Youth and Sports Minister Zainuddin Amali delivered updates regarding the Indonesian Football Association's Exceptional Congress to President Joko Widodo.
The Congress, which has become an aftermath of the Kanjuruhan Stadium tragedy, was moved from November 2023 to early next year. Speaking to the press after the meeting at Merdeka Palace, Central Jakarta, Minister Zainuddin Amali stressed that the government will not intervene with the Congress process and its results. The association is an independent organization with capabilities to solve internal issues on their own.
Based on the meeting with 12 executive committee members on Friday, the 28th of October, the Indonesian Football Association has agreed to hold an exceptional Congress on March the 18th of 2023. They have also sent a recommendation letter to FIFA on this issue and is currently awaiting for the Federation's response, and they will have until next Monday, the 7th of November.
Kita pemerintah dalam posisi tidak ikut campur, apalagi intervensi dalam pelaksanaan KLB yang sudah diputuskan oleh PSSI, karena itu menjadi ranah PSSI. Silakan dilaksanakan sesuai dengan apa yang telah mereka putuskan.
Elsewhere in Indonesia, former Internal Security Bureau head of the Profession and Security Division, Brigadier General Hendra Kurniawan, was dishonorably discharged from the Indonesian National Police Force.
The Code of Ethics trial was held after being postponed for 3 times.
Public Relations Division Head Inspector General Dedi Prasetyo said that the Code of Ethics trial was held for 10 hours and featured 17 witnesses. The trial, which was led by General Supervision Deputy Inspector General Tornagogo Sihombing, came to 3 conclusions. Hendra was proven to have committed misconduct. He was detained for 29 days, and finally, he was dishonorably discharged from the Indonesian police force.
Brigadier General Hendra's trial was postponed 3 times after he fell ill. Meanwhile, a total of 35 personnel have violated the Code of Ethics, and 20 of them were previously on trial. 2 of the 7 obstruction of justice case suspects, namely Senior Inspector Irfan Widianto and Adjunct Senior Commissioner Arif Rahman, have yet to attend the Code of Ethics trial. Meanwhile, defendants, Ferdi Sambo and Putri Chandrawati expressed their apology to Brigadier Yosua's parents during a trial held on Tuesday.
The late Brigadier's parents, Samuel Hutabarat and Rosti Simanjuntak, attended the court for their testimonies.
Ibu Yosua, saya sangat memahami perasaan Bapak dan Ibu. Saya mohon maaf atas apa yang telah terjadi. Saya sangat menyesal saat itu saya tidak mampu mengontrol emosi dan tidak jernih berpikir. Di awal lewat persidangan ini, saya ingin menyampaikan bahwa peristiwa yang terjadi adalah akibat dari kemarahan saya atas perbuatan anak bapak kepada istri saya. Itu yang harus saya sampaikan, nanti akan dibuktikan di persidangan. Saya yakini bahwa saya telah berbuat salah dan saya akan bertanggungjawabkan secara hukum. Saya juga sudah minta ampun kepada Tuhan.
Saya dan Bapak Ferdi Sambo tidak sedetik pun menginginkan kejadian seperti ini terjadi dalam kehidupan keluarga kami yang membawa duka dan luka yang dalam di hati saya dan keluarga. Saya juga sebagai seorang ibu bisa merasakan bagaimana duka yang dalam di hati ibu sebagai ibunda dari Yosua yang mengalami kehilangan seorang anak yang adalah nafas kehidupan. Untuk itu, dari kerendahan hati yang dalam, saya mohon maaf untuk ibunda Yosua beserta keluarga atas peristiwa ini.
All right, in other news, Airbus has reaffirmed their presence in Indonesia by continuing their partnership with PT Dirgantara Indonesia.
Airbus will provide support to help the Indonesian airplane assembly to take bigger stage in the industry.
Airbus continues its work in Indonesia by collaborating with PT Dirgantara Indonesia, or Indonesian Aerospace, a subcontractor for Airbus line and helicopter.
The objective is that we are assisting PTDI to be able to support and to improve their aerostructure aerostructure business, so that they can be part of the global supply chain, not only for Airbus, but also for the other OEM, which I believe PTDI have a certain number to achieve, and we are more than happy to support them. That's it.
Airbus also plans to explore Indonesia's space industry potential by partnering up with the Indonesian National Institute of Aeronautics and Space, or LAPAN, for satellite imagery.
Space really is something that we would like to develop further in Indonesia. We have already this long-standing relationship with LAPAN, with the space agency here, but we see a lot of potential to develop sovereign space capability in Indonesia.
Airbus is set to participate in this year's Indo-Defense Expo, which is scheduled to be held on November 2nd to the 5th. They will showcase the latest airplanes in the manufacturing line, as well as opening business inquiries with interested parties. Adin Fatoni, Andre Saputra for See Today.
So let's talk about Airbus and also in the Indonesian history, right? So Airbus and Indonesia have maintained an enduring relationship for more than 40 years, by the way, Paul. Okay. Going back to the year 1976 when PT Dirgantara Indonesia had obtained a license to produce the NC-212 and NBO-105. in the country-built version of the C-212 light tactical aircraft and BO-105 helicopter. Both are products of Airbus predecessors companies. Now, in February 1979, the Garuda Indonesia airline placed an order for Airbus cornerstone A300B4 jetliner and was involved in the development of the world's first wide-body airliner that is flown by a two-pilot crew. So since then, the European manufacturer has become a leading supplier of commercial airliners, helicopters, and defense products and services to Indonesia. And beyond its commercial success, Airbus also has established itself as Indonesia's largest aviation industry partner, where Indonesian aerospace firms supply aerostructures and also components across the Airbus commercial aircraft, military helicopter product lines, and Airbus also support the training of pilots, engineers, and technicians in Indonesia.
Wow.
Really helping our country.
That's right. And Boeing better watch out because Airbus has really been on the move over the past several years, and with a couple of tragedies that befell Boeing as well.
Yes.
Airbus is really looking to push themselves as the #1 leading aircraft manufacturer in the world, and they certainly seem to be doing so.
All right. So, and of course, now we're going to head on to our next bit of news. So, right here in Indonesia, where the Indonesian state-owned enterprise PT Pupuk Indonesia opened a representative office in the United Arab Emirates capital on Monday.
Yes, this company seeks to further expand its trading business and gain broader access to raw materials and other industrial developments.
October the 31st marked the opening day of PT Pupuk Indonesia representative office in the United Arab Emirates' capital of Dubai. The Dubai office is expected to provide easier access to raw materials, especially for the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium or NPK fertilizer. It is also expected to enable future collaborations with a number of technology and manufacturing companies located in the UAE.
The goal of this office is in the short term, this office will operate as representative office, but in the midterms, it will become a trading office of Pupuk Indonesia. The goal is, of course, to increase the EBITDA of the Pupuk Indonesia Group.
During the launching event, the Indonesian state-owned enterprise also signed an MOU with Vertiglobe, the largest nitrogen fertilizer producer in the Middle East and North Africa, and the world's largest seaborne exporter of ammonia and urea. Vertiglobe is listed on the Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange.
And I think this is actually one of the steps for Pupuk Indonesia to become one of the major global force in terms of trading, whether it is actually related to the basic materials that is actually required for producing fertilizers, to ensure that Indonesia secure the fertilizer and for the food security of Indonesia, and also to develop the future sales and distribution globally for mainly the main product such as ammonia and urea, but I think also beyond that, we see that there is a potential for Pupuk Indonesia to also develop green-related products such as green and blue hydrogen and ammonia.
As one of Asia's largest producers of ammonia and urea, Pupuk Indonesia has more than 50 years of experience in producing and exporting ammonia and urea, made possible through complete facilities. In 2021, the export volume of Pupuk Indonesia reached around 2 million tons of urea and 715,000 tons of ammonia.
That concludes our Indonesian segment for this hour. And of course, we're going to take another short break. When we return, Papalila right here next to me is going to bring you some sports updates. Of course, you know, we're going to talk about something that is just, you've been watching the Nets and you were kind of being... Literally, right? But you, like, yesterday you were like saying, oh my God, they're like so bad and whatnot. Now, Steve Nash is out.
Yes.
But I heard Ime Udoka of Celtics is coming in. Is that true?
I don't know, because that's what's been very vague about the Boston Celtics. They haven't released a statement in regards to, well, if he's suspended, can he work somewhere else? Because you're not paying him his full salary. And if that's the case, how does it work with the Celtics? Or did the Celtics plan on bringing him back? Again, this is all obviously speculation still.
It's swirling around, though.
Yes, but he would be the perfect candidate. Why? Because the Nets are currently 30th, so absolutely dead last in defense. And Ime Udoka is a great defensive coach. Look what he did with the Celtics in one season of him being there. They became one of the best defenses in the league. But again, we're looking too far ahead. Late breaking news is that Steve Nash has got the the axe. He's gone.
Yeah.
What's next for the Nets? Well, they're playing the Bulls right now. We'll update you on that news, NBA news and highlights from yesterday, as well as other sports news, including our MVP, or most valuable play, which you can take part in voting as well. All that and more to come when we return here on the C Morning Show. Stay tuned. Sports is up next.
Steve Dash got the boot.
We'll visit massive factories and master craftsmen. We'll experience unique ways in which things are made and even test some of them out. Rock and roll! Needless to say, this will be pretty epic. Oh, wow. I'm Justin Bratton. Join me as I uncover some of the best, the most colorful, and the most innovative bespoke products on the market today.
Welcome back to Theory of Everything. We will round out some of the biggest or craziest theories that have been circulating around the web and then stuck on your head, such as fan theories that audiences have about movies, shows, comics, or anything really. When the initial trailer for Doctor Strange 2, it was clear Wanda Maximoff held a prominent role in the film, though whether she'd play friend or foe to Benedict Cumberbatch lead remain in question.
Siapa sejak dini untuk masa depan. Aras ini sangat visi misi.
Visioner, bukan visi misi. Kalau visi misi, visi foya, misi foya, visi misi, foya, foya. Oh, digambar cakep, Sel.
Digambar ya lumayan.
Tapi
lumayan jelek.
Kulit itu untuk jadi jaket paling butuh 1 ekor atau 2 ekor domba. Ternyata setelah saya terjun di industri ini, saya baru tahu bahwa untuk membuat sebuah jaket kulit saja itu setidaknya membutuhkan sampai 4 ekor domba.
Lakukan aja yang bisa kita lakukan, hal sekecil apapun gitu yang bisa kita lakukan, ya lakukan saja gitu. Jangan sampai harus nunggu dulu, tapi lakukan aja hal sekecil apapun gitu.
What makes a new place feel like home? I always believe it's about the people and the community. I love the tomato sauce. This is what I always say, the dish of signature. And food often the best way to connect them all. Ooh, this one really good. Restaurants for me is the beating heart of a city. That is why I love exploring new places. Follow me while I'm visiting the most exciting eating places around cities only on Sea Indonesia.
Tulung Agung is a small city that stores many varieties of culture and culture based on local wisdom. The people of Tulung Agung in general have a culture or tradition that is passed down from generation to generation. One of them is the ancestral heritage of coffee. Coffee is not an original commodity from Tulung Agung Regency, but Tulung Agung typical coffee is part of the heritage in the era of the Dutch colonial.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. As we approach the top of the second hour of our program, we're first going to update you on your first sports news of the morning. We're going to start off with some tennis updates as sixth-seeded Novak Djokovic eased past Maxime Cressy of France 7-6 and 6-4 to reach the second round at the Paris Masters on Tuesday. Djokovic dominated the tiebreak after a hard-fought opening set in which neither player's serve was broken. The former world number one then seized the only break of the match at the most opportune moment to go up 5-4 up in the second, before serving out with ease in a match in which he won 48 of his 54 points on serve. The Serbian, seeded 6th in Paris this year, will face Karen Khachanov in his bid to win the 39th ATP Masters 1000 crown of his illustrious career so far. Well, it is getting later on in Djokovic's career, but as he stated to a news outlet recently, Djokovic is determined to stay as competitive as possible and not give any of the rising stars in men's tennis, such as Carlos Alcaraz, Holger Rune, and Jannik Sinner, an easy ride, particularly at Grand Slams. The 35-year-old, who is just one major title behind one of his great rivals, Rafael Nadal, said with a smile that he will, quote, not give up and will beat the next generation of stars as much as he possibly can. On whether the incredible records that he, Roger Federer, or Rafael Nadal have established in the men's game can ever be broken, Djokovic feels that it is always possible, mentioning in particular Carlos Alcaraz, who he feels will dominate tennis in years to come. However, he will continue to keep fighting on his side of the net. As we know, Djokovic is a 6-time champion at this week's Masters and begin his bid to win a 7th crown with the victory over Maxime Cressy. His victory was also his 10th on the ATP Tour in a row, continuing a strong end to the season after victories in Tel Aviv and Astana in October. He is also coincidentally on the same half of the draw as Nadal, who will be playing for the first time since the US Open. Nadal, in turn, has never won this tournament and will open against either Roberto Bautista Agut or Tommy Paul. Now, more tennis updates for you. The men's tennis singles world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz said on Monday that he was, quote, excited to play as a number 1 at the Paris Masters. Alcaraz, who won his first Grand Slam at the US Open last September, became the youngest ever world number 1 at the age of 19. The Spaniard's first match in Paris will be against Yoshihito Nishioka on Wednesday.
First of all, I'm so happy to lift this trophy. It's a dream for me, a dream come true. As a kid, I was dreaming to be number 1, to become a champion, a Grand Slam champion. So everything has came so fast, but I'm really happy. My feeling right now is amazing, and I'm so happy to share this trophy with all of you, and I'm so excited to play as a number 1 here on Wednesday. So see you, all of you, on Wednesday.
Bon, immortaliser ce moment, et c'est le début d'une grande carrière, on le sait depuis un petit moment. Voilà Carlos Alcaraz, c'est aussi le numéro 2003.
So what an unforgettable season it has been for Alcaraz so far, with plenty of historic moments. Obviously, one of them being the youngest world number 1 in the history of the ATP rankings. Alcaraz also now becomes one of 28 players who have reached world number 1 in the ATP rankings. He accomplished it shortly after claiming his first major crown at the US Open. Now, we mentioned that he will be playing Yoshihito Nishioka in the second round. And he's got one more thing to do before the end of the year. He's now looking to become the youngest year-end world number 1 in history, with that award to be presented at the Nitto ATP Finals, where he will make his debut. Can't wait for that. All right, let's move on to the NBA. The latest breaking news that has just happened and been announced: Steve Nash is out as Brooklyn Nets coach after a disappointing start and more controversy surrounding Kyrie Irving. The Nets announced on Tuesday that they had parted ways with the Hall of Fame point guard just one day after they beat the Indiana Pacers to improve to 2-5 on the season. Nash made it to this season after Kevin Durant said he wanted him out earlier on in the summer, but not much longer, it seems. The Nets have been another mess with bad play on the court and bad headlines off of it. The biggest and most recent was created by Kyrie Irving, who posted a link on Twitter to an anti-Semitic book-turned-movie on his Twitter page last week, which drew criticism from Nets owner Joe Tsai. Nash led the Nets to the playoffs in both full seasons, his first as an NBA coach. Now, I and other NBA fans as well obviously saw this writing on the wall. However, I did not think it was going to happen this soon. Will it change things on the Nets? Highly unlikely. Now, we do know that the Nets simply looked at a three-ring circus that often doubles for the NBA organization and opted to oust the guy that is easiest to fire. Usually it's the head coach. Now, there's no easy way to know if Steve Nash, who had exactly zero coaching experience before his appointment in 2020, qualifies as even a good head coach. His tenure has disguised his excellence or shortcomings. Everything about him and this team has faded beyond the normal eclipse that one can see when surrounded by massive stars. But Nash's tenure was also shrouded in an all-time high level of dysfunction, ego, and ugliness, and all of this has combined to make it very difficult to assess Nash, the coach. It's like if a coach coaches LeBron James. There'll be either diminished credit or extra blame on the coach when coaching a player of that magnitude. And in that end, fair or not, the axe will fall on the head coach first. Now, the only thing that's certain about Nash's tenure in Brooklyn is that it was destined to fail. What happened on Tuesday wasn't a consequence of his coaching on the court. It was a consequence of the decisions general manager Sean Marks made several years ago to trade a young, up-and-coming, high-culture, no-star squad for this seemingly failing Nets experiment. We'll see how the Nets respond as they are taking on the Bulls in Chicago. Brooklyn is now leading at 30-25, and we had just started the second quarter. All right, in other games and other action that had taken place around the NBA, Lauri Markkanen had 31 points and 10 rebounds as the Jazz dominated on both ends of the court on Monday night in a 121-105 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies. The Jazz repeatedly contested shots, crashed the boards, and forced turnovers. On the offensive end, the Jazz were equally relentless in knocking down one outside jumper after another. Markkanen made a season-high 11 field goals while shooting an astounding 69% from the floor. He made an equally forceful impact as a defender, contesting shots and keeping shooters uncomfortable in the paint. Meanwhile, on the other end, Ja Morant had 37 points to pace the Grizzlies. Dillon Brooks added 19, and Tyus Jones chipped in 12. However, Memphis shot a sad 6 of 26 from beyond the arc. All right, let's talk about the biggest surprise of the season so far in the Utah Jazz. Now, nobody was expecting this. This was supposed to be a rebuilding team, especially after losing Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell in the offseason and bringing in untested head coach Will Hardy. Well, there was brilliance from multiple places in this one as we saw the Jazz continue their surprising level of play. Probably the most impressive was Lauri Markkanen. He's blossoming into a star under Will Hardy. He was 11 of 15 from the field. He was 4 of 6 from outside. He had 11 rebounds and blocked 4 shots on the defensive end. Just silly numbers from a guy that was combined with Colin Sexton in the Donovan Mitchell trade. It's hard to understate how good Markkanen has been. He's scoring in a myriad of ways, whether it's in transition, in the post, or shooting from distance, something that he didn't do much of in Chicago. He's showing an ability to score from all 3 levels that have got to start earning him a little bit of an all-star buzz, perhaps heading into February. Obviously, it's still very early in the season, but how long until we don't have to say that anymore? Maybe in about a month or so. With this win, the Jazz are now 6-2 and are the number 3 seed in the West. Can Markkanen keep this up? If so, the Jazz may be looking at their all-star in Salt Lake City. Now, as a team, though, the Jazz shot 47% from the field, 40% from 3, and dished out 26 assists. Now, this remarkable play is a testament to each player's willingness to buy into the system and into each other as teammates. It's also a testament to Will Hardy's ability to coach of the year perhaps, maybe. The Jazz are making everything look easy. Their system does not look complicated and is creating great looks for one another. Each player is playing to his strength and is making great reads within a brilliantly simple offense. Each possession is no wasted movement and everything seems to be clicking. They're not the best defensive team in the league, but they certainly make things hard on opposing offenses. The Jazz offense has cooled off some and sits at number 15 in the league in efficiency. But what's impressive is the defense that has settled into the top 10 at number 7. Let's see if they can sustain this high level of play throughout midway in the season. Meanwhile, the Brooklyn Nets, as we mentioned, just came off a win. They defeated the Indiana Pacers 116-109 as Kevin Durant recorded a game-high 36 points, 9 rebounds, along with 7 assists for the Nets. His other superstar mate, Kyrie Irving, added 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in this victory.
Kevin Durant scored 36 points to lift the Brooklyn Nets to a much-needed 116-109 win over the Indiana Pacers on Monday night. With 2 first-quarter free throws, Durant passed Vince Carter for 19th on the NBA's all-time scoring list. He has scored at least 25 points in each of the first 7 games of the season, the most in franchise history. Kyrie Irving added 28, while Claxton had 19 and 9 rebounds. The Nets won a highly entertaining back-and-forth game in the fourth quarter. Entering the final 12 minutes, Brooklyn had a 92-85 lead, but Indiana used the 15-8 spurt over the first 6.5 minutes to draw even at 100 all. Despite a 30-point performance from Chris Duarte, Indiana dropped to 3-5. Buddy Hield chipped in with 22. Benedict Mathurin contributed 16, and Tyrese Halliburton had 11. Next, the Pacers will face Miami on Friday, and the Nets will face the Bulls on Tuesday.
So apart from all of the issues, the bad start, the head coaching, as well as the chemistry on the team, other problems continue to plague the Nets, including injuries. So Seth Curry and Ben Simmons were late scratches for this game against Indiana. Both are up in the air for the tail end of this back-to-back Tuesday night against the visiting Chicago Bulls. Now, Simmons was a surprise addition to the injury list, questionable for Monday with a sore left knee. Then the struggling All-Star got downgraded to out during pre-game warm-ups. Simmons said before the tip-off, "It's sore, it's swollen," but he added that he did not anticipate the injury being serious or long-term, but simply a matter of rust. He said, quote, "I think it's just coming back. I don't think there's anything structurally wrong with it. It's just coming back and playing." Simmons added that he hoped to play against the Bulls, but had to see if the swelling subsides. Meanwhile, Seth Curry had made his season debut in Saturday's loss to the Pacers and clearly looked like he had not gotten back to his old self. He was scoreless in 17.5 minutes and a team worst -13. Playing the Pacers again 2 days later, Curry was downgraded from questionable to out with an ongoing left ankle injury. And asked if the injury was going to be ongoing, Curry said he didn't expect it to be. He, like Joe Harris, is both coming off ankle surgery, while Harris has missed time from both his ankle and then a sore foot during his return to play. Then head coach Steve Nash wouldn't draw comparisons between his 2 injured shooters. By the way, the Nets are dead last in league in rebound percentage, defensive rebound percentage, and opponent three-point percentage, so they certainly need Ben Simmons back in this lineup as soon as possible. All right, that does it for our NBA news and highlights. It's time now for us to check out our most valuable play, or MVP. We've got them locked and loaded. Let's check them out.
Wonderful
First
defense.
to Brooklyn, where Kevin Durant comes up with a monster block inside the paint area, going up for an easy deuce. Kevin Durant from the weak side says, no way, sends it back out to the free throw line with a beautiful defensive play. We all know that Kevin Durant can play great offense, but we sometimes forget that he's a great defender as well.
Kevin Durant.
All right, next up, we go back to Utah. Lauri Markkanen had himself a game not only on the offensive, but defensively as well. Here's one of his 4 blocks that he had in this one. Amazing stuff. Markkanen getting back on defense and sending it out of bounds. Get that out of here. A drive from Dylan Brooks, who was a villain in this one, and the crowd was just loving it. Lauri Markkanen with a huge block, and that is our second candidate for MVP.
Tried to rise, but he couldn't get that.
and gets denied by marketing. Just swats that thing right.
All right, and those are our two candidates for our most valuable play. We're going to need your help to select which one makes our MVP of the day. Is it Kevin Durant or Lauri Markkanen? You can send us your votes via our social media platforms by first following @CToday News on Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Drop us a line. Let us know which one is your favorite MVP, which we will announce and replay the winner on our sports recap later on in the program. All right, that does it for sports for now. I will be stepping away momentarily, but Caroline will be back to share with you some unique feature stories from right here in Indonesia. Stay tuned. The C Morning Show will be right back after this.
A very good afternoon to all of you, and for the next few hours we'll bring you the latest from Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and around the world.
With more of a whisper than a resounding clang, Greece has shed another restriction dating back to its painful financial bailout.
Schools in Demak regions in central Java have become Thai-toe alba owls conservationists. These barn owls are considered friends with farmers as they can help to prey on rats in rice fields.
Longing for a short getaway where you can be away from people but still be productive?
You can! Come down here at Bidadari Island where you can learn a thing or two about the history.
This paradise island is more than just white sands and Tuscan blue waters.
You're not an outdoorsy type? Well, so am I. Don't be dismissive of the idea because
we're gonna get in touch with nature and hopefully have fun while at it. See the beauty only on See Indonesia.
Come see the beauty only on See Indonesia.
Dia MD. MD-nya ada panjangnya tuh. Apa tuh? My Dream.
Oke, bisa bahasa ngalah?
Bisa.
Coba.
Matur suwun.
Wah, cuma segitu saja.
Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk with me, Paul Palelli. Let's say hello to Bibo in the Buds. Hey guys! Oh, this is your assistant, Trey.
Hi, my name is Palelli.
For us, going like solo right now is like a refreshing.
I'm actually not good at acting because I'm too real.
Well, it's time for another Buddy Challenge. It's the only word I know.
Snake specialist Nirut Chomnas has dedicated the last 20 years of his life to the study of these reptiles. Snakes are born survivors, able to endure the toughest conditions, and they've adapted well to a range of habitats across Thailand.
Hi, my name is Grace. Haven't you eaten since morning? Not yet.
Ada yang harus saya konsumsi nggak ya dok? Tarik nafas yang dalam.
Thank you so much for still tuning in with us right here on the C Morning Show on See Today. Now, as we know, Indonesia is going through a transition, for a sustainable energy transition. Now, an Islamic boarding school in Kediri, East Java, has just done that because they built a solar power plant, a major breakthrough in promoting clean energy. The power plant is also expected to save up to 60 million rupiah of electricity costs.
Wali Baroka Islamic Boarding School in Kediri, East Java, made a breakthrough by constructing a renewable power plant using solar energy in response to the immense need for electricity for the teaching and learning process. Since 2018, this boarding school has built a solar power plant, with the design carried out independently by students and alumni with electricity experience. The solar power plant cost 10 billion rupiah to build. This is the outcome of the congregation's mutual cooperation. With this power plant, the school hopes to achieve electrical energy independence and contribute to the nation. Apart from producing Islamic scholars and preachers, the school's effort also assist the government in reducing the impact of global warming while reducing dependence on fossil energy such as coal.
Inovasi yang sedang kami pikirkan untuk ke depan ya tentu bagaimana tenaga listrik yang tersedia ini bisa dimaksimalkan untuk meningkatkan atau mengoptimalkan tenaga listrik yang ada bagi peningkatan kebutuhan penunjang di dalam proses belajar mengajar. Kami berpikir bagaimana agar kelebihan listrik yang diperoleh dari PLTS ini bisa dijual. Paling tidak, kalaupun tidak, nanti mungkin tergambar untuk masyarakat sekitar yang membutuhkan tambahan tenaga listrik mungkin agak lebih dikurangi biayanya, artinya lebih murah daripada PLN.
While building the solar power plant project, the boarding school conducted research with the assistance of NASA satellites to determine a number of aspects that can support, such as brightness, solar intensity throughout the year, and temperature in the boarding area. The Wali Barokah cottage's solar panels have a span of 41 by 40 meters and a total of 640 panels. The research process to build the solar power plant took over a year. The power plant can deliver 220 kilowatts of power in 5 hours of sunshine per day. In addition, this power plant is also equipped with 40 electric energy storage batteries with a capacity of 50,000 watts. Officers in a special room regularly monitor all the electricity stored to minimize the occurrence of fires due to power surges. With 5,000 students, the Wali Barokah Islamic Boarding School has to spend monthly electricity bills up to 150 million rupiah. But since using solar power plants, they have been able to save up to 60 million rupiah per month. Electricity from the solar power plant is used by the boarding school to meet the needs of classroom lighting, offices, residences for students and teachers, fans, loudspeakers, water pumps, and escalators. The power plant at the boarding school ensures that students never have to worry about being without electricity, allowing them to focus on their studies and extracurricular pursuits without interruption. See Today contributor reporting from Malang, East Java.
In our next news, we'd like to highlight one of the features from Central Sulawesi, where the names of victims of the earthquake and liquefaction disaster which hit Balaroa village, Palu, in September 2018 are immortalized on a memorial monument wall. Now, this monument is a sign of love, as well as a reminder of the disaster that claimed thousands of lives 4 years ago.
In the green open space area permanent housing complex for victims of the 2018 natural disaster in Palu, a two-story building built on a height overlooking the bay. At the bottom of this two-story building, there's a monument called Balaroa Memorial. The memorial is a monument of love, as well as a reminder of the natural disaster that claimed thousands of lives 4 years ago. On the walls of the memorial are written the names of the victims who died as a result of the earthquake and liquefaction. Thousands of names are written neatly and form white roses on a black background. Isra, one of the residents who lost relatives, due to the earthquake and liquefaction disaster, considers the existence of this monument very good as a reminder of the next generation. He also hopes that this monument will always be maintained.
Itu kalau di Fornas Kepesa itu mau ada 75% yang meninggal di Fornas itu. Mertua ada juga di situ Kemanatan. Bahkan ipar di Jawali saya kan banyak. Kalau di Jawali saya memang keluarga banyak, termasuk mertuaku sendiri.
The Balawa village is located in Palu. The city is the capital of Central Sulawesi. And this is the area where the first housing in the city. Built in the 1980s, Balawa became one of the areas that was quite significant in its development. However, the situation changed when the 7.4 magnitude earthquake shook Palu and Donggala. The earthquake resulted in almost the entirety of Balawa village area, including Balawa housing complex, buried by the earthquake. The Balawa Memorial Wall was built in May 2022. This is the result of cooperation between a French foundation and the Palu regional government. This memorial wall is expected to be a reminder of who left and did not return due to the liquefaction that hit this region. See today conducted reporting from Palu, Central Sulawesi.
That is just very beautiful. Now we're going to take another short break. When we return, we're going to have a very special talk show about the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists, especially right here in Indonesia. So stay tuned on the CNN Show.
Kulit itu untuk jadi jaket paling butuh 1 ekor atau 2 ekor domba. Ternyata setelah saya terjun di industri ini, saya baru tahu bahwa untuk membuat sebuah jaket kulit saja itu setidaknya membutuhkan sampai 4 ekor domba.
Lakukan aja yang bisa kita lakukan, hal sekecil apapun gitu yang bisa kita lakukan, ya lakukan saja gitu. Jangan sampai harus nunggu dulu, tapi lakukan aja hal sekecil apapun gitu.
Tulung Agung is a small city that stores many varieties of culture and culture based on local wisdom. The people of Tulung Agung in general have a culture or tradition that is passed down from generation to generation. One of them is the ancestral heritage of coffee. Coffee is not an original commodity from Tulung Agung Regency, but Tulung Agung typical coffee is part of the heritage in the era of the Dutch colonial.
We'll visit massive factories and master craftsmen. We'll experience unique ways in which things are made and even test some of them out. Rock and roll! Needless to say, this will be pretty epic. Oh, wow. I'm Justin Bratton. Join me as I uncover some of the best, the most colorful, and the most innovative bespoke products on the market today.
Siapa sejak dini untuk masa depan. Alas ini sangat visi misi.
Visioner, bukan visi misi. Kalau visi misi, visi foya, misi foya, visi misi, foya, foya. Oh, digambar cakep, Sel. Digambar ya lumayan. Tapi lumayan jelek.
Welcome back to Theory of Everything. We will round out some of the biggest or craziest theories that have been circulating around the web and then stuck on your head, such as fan theories that audiences have about movies, shows, comics, or anything really. When the initial trailer for Doctor Strange 2, it was clear Wanda Maximoff held a prominent role in the film, though whether she'd play friend or foe to Benedict Cumberbatch lead remain in question.
What makes a new place so like home, I always believe it's about the people and the community. I love the tomato sauce. This is what I always say, the dish of signature. And food often the best way to connect them all. Ooh, that sounds really good.
Restaurants for me is the beating heart of a city. That is why I love exploring new places. Follow me while I'm visiting the most exciting eating places around cities only on Sea Indonesia.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. We're almost at the halfway point of our program, which leads us to our first discussion of the day. But before we get to that, we'd like to remind you of a story that took place recently, more specifically on Sunday, where Haiti's National Police Force said it has received orders to launch an investigation into the death of a journalist who witnesses say was struck in the head by a tear gas canister.
On the incident, officers also opened fire on a group of reporters. In a statement late Sunday, Police Chief Franz Elbe offered his condolences to the family and colleagues of the journalist, adding that officers were forced to fire tear gas to control a hostile crowd attacking a police station in Port-au-Prince on Sunday.
Journalists had gathered at a police station in Delmas to demand the release of their colleague Robes Dimanche, who had been detained while covering a protest. Dimanche works at a local radio Tele Zenit.
The Association of Haitian Journalists also accused police of beating up several journalists and confiscating their equipment.
Témoin en dans commissariat côté que la police policier prend sang yo assassiné un journaliste. Non seulement que nèg yo assassiné journaliste là à terre souffrir votre confine trépassé, yo pas porter assistance avec.
And according to the UNESCO's observation of killed journalists between 2006 and 2020, over 1,200 journalists have been killed around the world, with close to 9 out of 10 cases of these killings remaining judicially unresolved. Impunity has led to more killings and is often a symptom of worsening conflicts and the breakdown of the law and judicial systems.
It is in recognition of the far-reaching consequences of impunity, especially of crimes against journalists, that the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution at its 68th session in 2013, which proclaimed 2nd of November as the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. The resolution urged member states to implement definite measures in countering the present culture of impunity, and the date was chosen in commemoration of the assassination of 2 French journalists in Mali on 2nd of November 2013.
So let's delve more into this topic, because today joining us in the studio we have AJI General Secretary Mbak Ika Ningtyas. Good morning, Mbak Ika. Thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning too, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here.
Right, so let's just get started. So how do you see the impunity for crimes against journalists, specifically here in Indonesia?
Yeah, the impunity is a huge issue in over the world, especially in Indonesia, because our record that culture of impunity for crime against journalists in Indonesia is still strong. We record that 89 the killing of a journalist since 1996 until 2010, but only one case brought to judicial resolve. And we have 8 cases, and there is no how the case will open and uncover to the public. And also AJI recalls over 900 cases since 2006 until now, but under 2% the case brings to resolve,
Really?
and so only 2%. So it's really shocking for us, especially you are a journalist, me as a journalist, and it's not only about the journalist's right as individual, because it's about the society right to access of information.
Correct.
If the journalist is under threat, it means the society is under threat too, to protect the press freedom and get the free information. So it's the problem is our problem, and we need to call the government and authority to seriously taking the step to end impunity.
Well, absolutely, because I mean, I've always seen the press or the media, especially in conflict areas, to be treated somewhat like the way medics are viewed. You know, these are just frontliners to report on what is happening, should be untouched when it comes to conflicts. But again, obviously, that's not the case in many of
Right. And of course, I think we're just still in a shock right now with what happened with the Palestinian-American journalist, Shireen Abu Akleh, that had just happened, just months ago. Now, if we're coming back to Indonesia, and you were stating the facts and also the numbers that is really shocking to both of us now, has the government take a further step then trying to end the impunity for crimes against journalists, especially right here in Indonesia, Micah, to your knowledge?
Yeah, we have not seen that government and or related authority to taking the seriously step to brought the case in a proper of a judicially or to justice, because if we know the most of preparator of violence journalists is the police officers, and only one case from the police officer brought to the judicial resolve. The case is happened in Surabaya, the Nur Hadi case. I don't know how the public know about this case, but it is important because this is the first case that IG has success to bring the police officer to court. Although the sentence is lower because only 2 months to bring prisons, but after the police taking the appeal process, yes, the sentence only reduced, become a 6 month. This is one example how the police institution as the state body who have a responsibility to protect the journalists, but in fact, this is most of preparator. Yes, this makes the cycle of violence in society, in our nation, is happen and happen. And yeah, we don't know because every day the journalists being under check in daily basis when they reporting in the fields. Also about the media houses, because not only the attack is not only for the journalists, but also media houses, like we recall that Narasi Konde was up under the DDoS attack. Yes, it's like a hacking attacks, and they make the public cannot access the information from their website.
Yeah, and that's why I think, journalists should have a very, or journalists and the law enforcement should have a very good relationship.
Well, of course.
Because basically when we go to we're seeing a lot of police stations, or, we've seen a lot of journalists that's out there and they're talking with each other or not. And if you have a very special relationship, that will be easier for you to access the information that you need.
We see that all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we pulled up some data actually from the Journalists Association of Indonesia. Perhaps you can explain to us a little bit in regards to this data. So we see that the type of violence against journalists that occurred this year was physical violence, and most of these incidences have actually taken place in the capital, so in and around Jakarta. So what does this data tell us?
Yes, the data gathered from our members in 40 branches in over in Indonesia, and we monitor in daily case, every day, and all the data we can see how the seriously problem about the press freedom. Yeah, we has a confirmation that the physical attacks is always the highest, the violence in every year, because we look at the any tendency from our society or our resource person who are not happy with journalist work. They always use the physical attack to silencing of the journalists or the independent media works. And also we have a new trend about digital attacks since 2019, and this seriously because that our works in the digital era is related how we use the internet connection with devices and with websites and another, but so this is a new trend.
When it comes to digital attacks on journalists, what is being attacked? Is it their personal digital data? What's happening there?
Yeah, it's like some the breaching of data, exposing of the your privacy or data privacy.
Or if you have an unnamed source. Right,
Yes, and hacking your device is like a mobile cellular, and they hack WhatsApp and all social media account. So it's become a new trend now. So be careful with all the journalists. So it's really interesting because the most of event happen in central Jakarta. Yeah, it's related because this year we record that the digital attacks mostly in Jakarta because they attack of the national media. It's like Narasi is the biggest digital attack in this year.
Okay.
And more than 30 journalists was hacked in personal devices, and also the Narasi website were under DDoS attacks.
Obviously, there's going to be a lot of sensitive information when it comes to a journalist's personal device.
Yes.
That's where, again, like I said, there could be information that shouldn't be released yet or has not been confirmed or unnamed sources or people need to be protected.
It's
so
not
it goes more than
treat
just
your personal life, but also it will relate it your family, your networking or college.
Yeah, and loved ones too.
Everyone can have same attacks.
Exactly. And there are certain also moments, Maika, where causes of violence against journalists now to increase. For example, during the regional head election, or the presidential election. And we know it's coming up very soon. So can you share about that, especially during the political year?
Yes, election, one of the moments that we will face the violence will rise or not. But this is a serious issue for AJI. So from this moment, in this Anti-Impunity Day, we will to call the government and all the media industry, society, businessmen, and other to taken seriously to protect the journalists and independent media, because in the elections, all the citizens needs a reliable and good information, because they need to have a decision from the good information, so they can have a good to choose their next leader. So if there is no journalist who can work safely every day, it's make the journalist cannot to gather the good information to the public. So the society will not be have benefit from our journalists' works.
Especially political year, right? Because you have so many candidates, you have so many, fans or supporters, and in which, there are so many to cover and whatnot. And of course, as journalists, you need to cover the factual information that you need. But then you'll be pressured by all of that. You have the candidates, and you have again, the supporters and whatnot. So it's really going to be a hard work for all journalists in Indonesia.
If I was reporting on the election out there in the field and I was supposed to report in black and white, and suddenly I felt like my personal life was under threat, or my family, or any of my loved ones, it might become gray very quickly. Now, where, as it stands, where does the law stand in protecting journalists right now in Indonesia? I mean, we've heard of that reduced sentence. Obviously, that sets a dangerous precedent for things to come in case cases like this ever go to trial again. But as it stands, how are journalists protected? How well are they protected?
That Indonesia has had law of the protect the journalists since 1999. I think it's the good regulation for now. But the problem is we look at the government and especially the police institution have not seriously to implement it of the
law is
law.
There, but we haven't seen it in action.
Because this is one of key of important for our democracy. If the government doesn't have the seriously or mechanism to protect us, we will to how the cultural impunity will never end in the future, and we need the mechanism, national mechanism to protect us. Also, how the media industry have it's like a guideline, training, and have it's like assistant, legal assistant, financial assistant if you have become a victim. So any exactly of good handling for the case if any journalist become a victim. And also about the police institution, we call the president who can act of the police reform because it's related. If not the issues of police reform, we will face how the police become a preparator from the future. So we need to work together with press council, journalist association like AJI, civil society, and other communities who can protect the journalist work in every day.
Yeah, I think it is our duty, not only the citizen, but the police enforcement, also the army enforcements and whatnot. It takes all the stakeholders to be a part of it too. So, this comes to my next question. What does the journalist, though, Maika, has somewhat a regulation? Because again, as a citizen, I think every whatever badge that we have, we're all the citizens of Indonesia, correct? And sometimes we do need to cover, the true facts. But let's say, the subject that we want to interview and whatnot are not willing to give the information and whatnot. What kind of rules and regulation could a journalist, do we have somewhat like a fact that if that person doesn't want to talk to us, sometimes we as a journalist, we want to get as many information as we want, but we kind of step further into that red line. Do we have a guideline to that? And what kind of security that we have actually as a journalist? Do we know that we're also protected in what kind of, security that we have?
Yeah, in fact, that journalists must have the ethic, the conduct of ethic. It is one of the guidelines if we want to safely. And the second, we have training of safety for journalists. If you want to cover the demonstration, or if you want to cover the conflict area like a mining area or the Papua issues like something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So you must to know how you can mitigate if any violence, if any risk situation, and you need to have especially it's like tools,
yes,
equipments,
yes,
and you must know if any emergency event, and you must know where you call, who's the person who will call to first, and when you want to run away from this site, and how you can to keep your equipment so it will to protect your interview or your data is like that. But from latest AJI research, we know that the journalists have a good about the safety knowledge, but the problem they don't want to implement it while the covering sensitive issues. And the second problem that media houses, your industry media, is not support for your special equipment. If you want to covering the demonstration, they want to support your equipment. Or if you become a victim, they don't want to give you legal support, or the safe house, or the psychology services, like that. Yeah, so you know that journalist is like alone, and how the importance of the journalist associations like AJI to can help them, because they don't the protect from the government and also from the media owners. So it's really sad.
And there's a lot of things,
condition.
Right? National disaster is happening.
Yeah, it's a one good example how the journalists come to covering the disaster, but they don't have knowledge about how to cover, how to protect their health.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah, the earthquake, the tsunami and everything. They have to know the field.
Of course, the protocols. That's going to affect the integrity of one's reporting as well. If you don't have the proper support system. So we've talked about the police force, the government, the journalists themselves. But what can we as a society, just our regular citizens, do to get involved or to support ending impunity for crimes against journalists?
Yes, journalists cannot work alone, and AJI cannot work alone, because we need more solidarity from the public to can condemn together, how the government to can protect the journalists and the police institution can to investigate properly all the case, so we can know who's the actor behind of the violence. Is it related with actor said, or relate with the highest profile behind that? Yeah, we need to investigate about that. So if the government and police institution seriously to stop the impunity, it will stop the violence in the society. The impunity is like a virus. You know, if the virus is not stopped, is not to kill, or we have a good intervention, like the virus can spread in other area, in other journalists or other media houses.
We need the
so
vaccination.
We need to take seriously to taking. So we call in this important day of the world, and United States, United Nations also celebrate this day to can call the seriously the uncalled countries to can important step us for this story.
Yeah, indeed. We need to have these things in place, such as this day. I mean, it's a great start to have to at least recognize that this is happening not just in Indonesia but around the world as well. We need journalists. Sometimes we don't realize how much we rely on our daily news and reports, and we need those to be as accurate as possible. And in order to get all of that, we need to protect those that are doing the reporting, because they're the ones on the front line. So,
and our lives matter. By the way, it does.
Maika, thank you so much for joining us today. This is a special day, so we appreciate you taking your time to join us. This has been Maika from the Aliansi Journalists Independent, or the Alliance of Independent Journalists. We do appreciate your time. In the meantime, I think we should take another break. What do you think?
Yes, indeed, we should. And now we're going to take another break. When we return, we have updates from around the world. So stay tuned right here on the C Morning Show.
Hey buddies, welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk with me, Paul Palelli. Let's say hello to Bebo and the Buds. Hey guys! Oh, this is your assistant, Trey.
Hi, my name is Palelli. For us, going like solo right now is like a refreshing.
I'm actually not good at acting because I'm too real.
Well, it's time for another Buddy Challenge. It's the only word I know.
Endingnya ada panjangnya tuh. Apa tuh? My Dream. Oke. Bisa bahasa ngalah?
Bisa.
Coba.
Matur suwun.
Wah, cuma segitu saja.
Snake specialist Nirut Chamnan has dedicated the last 20 years of his life to the study of these reptiles. Snakes are born survivors, able to endure the toughest conditions, and they've adapted well to a range of habitats across Thailand.
Longing for a short getaway where you can be away from people but still be productive?
You can! Come down here at Bidadari Island where you can learn a thing or two about the history.
This paradise island is more than just white sands and Tuscan blue waters.
You're not an outdoorsy type? Well, so am I. Don't be dismissive of the idea, because
we're gonna get in touch with nature and hopefully have fun while at it. See the beauty only on C Indonesia.
Come see the beauty only on C Indonesia.
Hi, my name is Grace. Haven't you eaten since morning?
Not yet.
Ada yang harus saya konsumsi nggak ya, Dok? Tarik nafas yang dalam.
Hello in a very
good afternoon to all of you. And for the next few hours, we'll bring you the latest from Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and around the world.
With more of a whisper than a resounding clang, Greece has shed another restriction dating back to its painful financial bailout.
Schools in Demak regions in central Java have become Taito Alba owls conservationists. These barn owls are considered friends with farmers as they can help to prey on rats in rice fields.
And welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. In case you're just joining us, good morning. We're going to recap some of our earlier news stories just for you. American rapper Takeoff, best known for his work with the Grammy-nominated trio Migos, was killed in a shooting on early Tuesday outside of a bowling alley in Houston. Police responded shortly after 2:30 a.m. local time to reports of a shooting at 810 Billiards and Bowling, where dozens of people had gathered on a balcony outside of the third-floor bowling alley. Officers discovered one man deceased as they arrived. Security guards who were in the area heard the shooting but did not see the perpetrator. 2 other people were injured and taken to hospitals in private vehicles. Takeoff was the youngest member of the rap trio from suburban Atlanta that also featured his uncle Quavo and cousin Offset. They first broke through with the massive hit Versace in 2013, the song which was later remixed by Drake, heightening its popularity.
At approximately 2:30 this morning, our officers were dispatched out here to a shooting that had just occurred. Upon arrival, they located multiple shell casings on the 3rd level of the building at the 810 Bowling and Billiards. I guess it's a bowling and pool hall. We were informed that there was a private party being held at the event last night that ended at approximately 1 a.m., but the party carried over till about 2 a.m., till they were cleared out. That's when the shooting occurred, where it left one male deceased on scene and 2 others that were transported to area hospitals nearby.
We hope to be able to report more details on this at a later time. Meanwhile, in other news, visitors to Shanghai Disneyland were temporarily blocked from leaving as part of COVID-19 testing protocol. Walt Disney Company said the park closed on Monday for virus testing of staff and visitors. The city government added that all visitors had left by Monday night.
检测结果完成，游客可以离园，我们将立即告知。乐园将继续提供有限运营，欢迎您在接下去的时间继续游玩。今晚6点至8点，我们将为每位游客免费提供1份晚餐。请在米奇好伙伴、美味集市、新露台餐厅、巴波萨烧烤和老图树实战中任意选择一家餐厅前去享用。再一次感谢您的配合。Hello, everyone.
A park visitor said he was prevented from leaving the park by around 10 a.m. and was asked to take COVID tests. Some amusement rides were seen operating for guests who were kept in the closed park. The park management offered free dinner for visitors from a selection of restaurants. Footage also shows security guards lining up, setting up a cordon to prevent visitors from leaving. Once the lockdown was lifted, visitors were seen separating into groups. All right, let's take it to the Philippines now, where residents in the country were able to mark All Saints' Day on Tuesday without any coronavirus pandemic restrictions for the first time in years. Large crowds of mourners were seen visiting the graves of their loved ones at cemeteries in Manila.
Millions of people in the Philippines visited cemeteries on Tuesday to honor the dead on the occasion of All Saints' Day, which was celebrated after the gap of 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Filipino people went to churches to pray for the souls of their dead and visited the graves of their loved ones with flowers, candles, and food, undeterred by the rain that has lashed most parts of the country. This day is celebrated in the Philippines in a festive atmosphere, with families spending much of the day, sometimes from the night before, next to the tomb of their deceased, even singing karaoke or taking selfies.
Siyempre masaya kami kasi matagal kaming hindi nakadalaw dito. Kasi alam mo naman mga Pilipino very sentimental when it comes to ganyan na All Saints Day. Kasi dyan lang yung feeling namin na parang makakasama namin sila ulit. Kahit hindi physical, yung may padama man lang namin sa kanila na importante at mahal pa rin na hindi sila nawawala sa isip namin.
In the densely populated capital of Manila, thousands of families honored their loved ones at the Marikina Cemetery, where colorful niches were arranged on top of each other in blocks, separated by intricate corridors. The Philippines, which is the only Catholic majority nation in Asia along with Timor-Leste, is considered the second country that most celebrates the Day of the Dead after Mexico. All Saints' Day is known in the Philippines as Undes, or Day of the Dead, which for some also includes the commemoration of all the faithful departed, which is held on November the 2nd.
All right, let's take another short break, but coming up next, we have another performance from duo Mobisari, plus we're going to talk about their new single, Clouds of Gray. Stay tuned.
We'll visit massive factories and master craftsmen. We'll experience unique ways in which things are made and even test some of them out. Rock and roll! Needless to say, this will be pretty epic. Oh, wow. I'm Justin Bratton. Join me as I uncover some of the best, the most colorful, and the most innovative bespoke products on the market today.
Welcome back to Theory of Everything. We will round out some of the biggest or craziest theories that have been circulating around the web and then stuck on your head, such as fan theories that audiences have about movies, shows, comics, or anything really. When the initial trailer for Doctor Strange 2, it was clear Wanda Maximoff held a prominent role in the film, though whether she'd play friend or foe to Benedict Cumberbatch lead remain in question.
Siapa sejak dini untuk masa depan? Arahnya sangat visi-misi.
Visioner, bukan visi-misi. Kalau visi-misi, visi foya, visi-misi, foya. Oh, digambar cakep, Sel. Digambar ya lumayan. Tapi lumayan jelek.
Kulit itu untuk jadi jaket paling butuh 1 ekor atau 2 ekor domba. Ternyata setelah saya terjun di industri ini, saya baru tahu bahwa untuk membuat sebuah jaket kulit saja itu setidaknya membutuhkan sampai 4 ekor domba.
Lakukan aja yang bisa kita lakukan, hal sekecil apapun gitu yang bisa kita lakukan, ya lakukan saja gitu. Jangan sampai harus nunggu dulu, tapi lakukan aja hal sekecil apapun gitu. What makes a new place feels like home, I always believe it's about the people and the community.
I love the tomato sauce. This is what I always say, the dish of signature.
And food often the best way to connect them all.
Ooh, that sounds really good. Restaurants for me is the beating heart of a city. That is why I love exploring new places. Follow me while I'm visiting the most exciting eating places around cities only on Sea Indonesia.
Tulung Agung is a small city that stores many varieties of culture and culture based on local wisdom. People of Tulungagung in general have a culture or tradition that is passed down from generation to generation. One of them is the ancestral heritage of coffee. Coffee is not an original commodity from Tulungagung Regency, but Tulungagung typical coffee is part of the heritage in the era of the Dutch colonial.
To those clouds of gray, trying to think of when we're all okay. Remembered running through the park just to be kicked out in those days. Remembered running down the road today. I saw a man who wore his mask halfway. As a sneeze burst out his nose, everybody ran away. How I miss the feeling of seeing all those happy faces smiling back. 'Cause all those smiling faces are covered by a mask. All the joys are hidden underneath those blue cloth. How long until this thing gets off my face? To those clouds of gray, trying to think of when we're all okay. Remembered running through the park just to be kicked out in those days. Remembered running down the road today. I saw a man who wore his mask halfway. As a sneeze burst out his nose, everybody ran away. How I miss the feeling of seeing all those happy faces smiling back. 'Cause all those smiling faces are covered by a mask. All the joys are hidden underneath those blue cloth. How long until this thing gets off my face? How long until this thing gets off my face?
Performance, Duo Moby Sade. And we had front row seats to this one,
I was going to say, you took my line out of my mouth right now. Sade and also Moby, can you please join us right here, please? Amazing.
Okay, so a little bit of jazz.
Yes.
You're a big jazz fan?
Of course, as always.
Jazz. I think jazz is the kind of music that goes with anything, doesn't it?
It's timeless too.
Especially with breakfast with nice.
Especially
nice
if it's like a little bit raining. Oh, I love
Hi
that.
guys.
Hi.
Have a seat. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here today.
Yes.
So you are duo Moby Sadi, correct? So this is coming from both your names.
Yes.
All right. So you're both still very young, 17 and 13, correct?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So I want to ask. I read that you guys got into music when you were 4 years old. Is that true?
Yes.
How did this all get started? Because I have kids that are very young around that age. I can't imagine them already doing this. So how did you guys who got you guys started in music?
Our parents started giving us piano lessons when we were 4.
Okay.
But we moved on to new
instruments, yeah.
Okay, was that on your own,
Yeah.
like your own decision? You decided.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So-
love your names, by the way, Moby and Sadi. Love Moby, Trouble So Hard, Sadi, of course.
Of course.
Operator and whatnot. But yeah, it's just so great to have the influence, to have you guys as influencing the music industry in a different kind of color. Because nowadays it's more like K-popers and, it's more pop and whatnot, but you're giving that flair right now. So, yeah.
Actually, let's talk a little bit about that. Why jazz? Like, who influenced you guys in your taste in music?
I think growing up, we have always been surrounded by music, but it's not always particularly jazz, but I think until one day we ran into one of the most famous jazz songs, Fly Me to the Moon, and then we just looked for songs that are similar to that, and turns out we love it even more, so we decided to get into jazz. Yeah.
And you guys are doing it together as siblings, and that's very powerful.
Most siblings are
right?
fighting. So.
Exactly.
We still do fight.
We still do fight, but in a very positive way. Because at the end of the day, you guys both make music, and in October, you guys just released a single titled "Clouds of Gray." So tell us behind of the song.
We wrote this song mid-pandemic, so
Okay.
around by the end of 2020 probably. So we humans were very social.
Yes.
We're very social. We miss the feeling of just meeting people,
Correct.
meeting strangers, and just smiling at them.
Yeah.
Since the pandemic, everyone's covered by
Yes.
by masks.
Happy to see your smile, guys, by the way, today.
See yours as well. Yeah, we kind of miss the feeling of
Just looking at the smiles on people's faces.
Okay, so Clouds of Gray is just basically a reminder of I call it the early days of the pandemic now.
Yeah.
Because now that we are kind of transitioning out of it. Who takes the lead between you guys when it comes to creating these things together? For example, you want to compose a song together, or when you're performing, is there one of you that generally takes the lead, or is it a collective decision-making process? What is that usually like?
during songwritings, we sometimes top off each other's ideas. Sometimes she comes up with an idea and sends it to me. And since we live in the same house, I visit her room and go, let's
Okay, so there's no like age seniority here, right? We both have just as much say. That's cool.
Even though I'm older, I feel like she's older.
It's like that with boys.
So you have the motherly love right there already intact with her. So when you guys are writing music, I mean, it seems that, especially like Clouds of Gray, you're talking about things that haven't just happened, with you, or even around the world and your society and your loved ones and whatnot. What kind of like songs that the messages that you like to portray in your songs?
I think different songs, of course, have different things we want to convey with. But I think with this particularly song, we just want to convey that nothing should stop us from socializing with people and making even new friends.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool way of thinking. So between you guys, when it comes to your support system, obviously that's a big thing. You guys are both still attending school, I assume, and you have to balance this out as well. We saw clips earlier. Is that inside your home where you have your little studio?
Yeah, that was his room.
That's your room. Oh, so everybody just goes to your room.
Yeah, so I gotta keep it clean.
What's that process like, especially at home? Because obviously you have a very good support system to allow you to explore your creative side when it comes to this, but you're both still very young. So are there rules, for example, like, your school grades have to be a certain level, or you have to make sure all your homework is done, or you can only practice so many hours per week? What is the balance like at home?
I think that's why we are homeschooled. So it's easier to balance our music life and our school life.
Yeah.
So there's less homework and less assignments. So yeah, it's pretty easy. We just attend school as long as we still get grades above average. I think
That's
it's
good, right?
Number one.
Yeah, because I think you can also kind of fix your own schedule
Yeah.
when you
Sure.
need to, kind of make music going on, when you have to do your, to follow on your education. And, earlier in the segment before our show, actually, or is it before our show, or was this one that, if I could, which one was that?
Yes, the first song.
The first song.
The first song, right? What is that about? I mean, for Cause of Grey, you were talking about how, we didn't have somewhat a social life as we did before. If I could, what's behind that one?
So it was actually originally written by our dad.
Okay, wow.
He has written a few songs through the years, but we fell in love with this one particularly because it's about a song for someone who just learned and understood what love is and was experiencing her first love. And we would just be the ones to listen to her stories. She would suddenly cry and then be happy again and then I love him. But yeah, the song is mostly about just first love.
First love, if I could.
So,
kind of remember
I know, I'm saying, are you getting any flashbacks?
Yeah.
So, both of you being teenagers, but also exploring topics such as the pandemic or first loves.
Yes.
Who is your target audience? Like, who are your fans?
Do we have a target?
Well, I mean, who are the people, the feedback that you get? Is it more of a younger crowd? Because jazz music also appeals to an older generation.
Correct,
So I'm
yes.
kind of curious. You've got a wide range of audience here.
Yeah, lately we've got comments from older people.
Older, thank you. Such as
Older
yeah.
Well, not really.
You've gotten used to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we're so happy to hear that a few of our friends are starting to enjoy jazz because
Right, yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's even more important.
Yeah. So if you're talking about jazz, is there any, jazz musician that you guys look up to and whatnot? I mean, you were saying, like Frank Sinatra, of course, is one of it, but
Yes,
is there other else, or maybe Indonesian jazz musician that you guys look up to?
there's this duo, two guitarists. Their band is called 24.
Okay.
And yeah,
Yeah.
we love them so much.
Similar, yeah?
In fact, they're actually the one who produced the song If I Could.
Oh, cool. That's amazing. So, speaking of jazz, one of the biggest jazz festivals, not only in Indonesia but around the world, takes place here, happens every year. Have you guys performed at any large festivals as well, or plan
Yes,
to?
a few times. Hopefully.
Here? Well, sadly, we can't really join the ones here because
Yeah.
Oh, because of your age.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I keep forgetting. See,
Something
I'm not getting used to this. That's right. Okay. Well, soon, perhaps. Right? Yeah,
Hopefully.
So tell us a little bit about. So you play guitar. You both started playing the piano.
Yes.
You play guitar.
Yes.
And you play what is called a double bass. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that instrument because it looks like something that belongs more in a string section.
Yes.
You're playing it as a jazz instrument.
Every time they see me playing it, everyone's like, "Are you sure that thing's for you? It's way bigger than you."
It does
I
look
mean,
a little big. Doesn't it? Looks like a giant cello.
yeah, but I remember my dad showing me this singer. Her name is Esperanza Spalding, and I fell in love. And I feel like, why not? I try to learn the double bass, and I feel like it's actually easier than the piano. So
Really?
Wow.
yeah.
All right. So
yeah.
would you both agree then? Piano lesson. Now I'm asking for a friend. And
I know, right?
that,
I was going to ask that question.
A piano
too.
is the best like gateway instrument to introduce yourself
Yeah.
to music because
Yeah,
from there you can
definitely.
learn other instruments.
Yeah.
It does so, right?
It's like the basic, yeah.
I want to ask, was your piano teacher really nice to you? Because I really had a very hardcore piano teacher, and it
Really?
just stopped my lesson.
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
I cannot anymore. I got so scared. But anyways, guys, I mean, you guys are now, very kind of like fluid in jazz. Is there any way, probably in the future, that you would kind of cross over to another genre? Would that be a possibility for doing Moby Sade?
Definitely, I think so.
We listen to.
Yeah, we actually
yeah.
don't listen to jazz 100% of the
Right,
time.
of course.
So yeah, there's a very big possibility that we'll be trying other genres.
Perhaps collaborations. You never know. That's the way to go these days. All right. So although you're still both very young, you still obviously have an extensive knowledge of music. So we're now going to test you on that knowledge because we have three popular jazz songs, and basically the challenge is to guess the title. But we're only going to let you hear the instrumentals.
Oh my God.
You'll get this. You guys
Probably going to get it better than me.
Of course.
All right, let's play the first one. Number one.
Wait, what
I think I know this one.
I have no idea what this one is.
I feel like
I think
most
you
jazz is
mentioned it.
instrumental. I haven't mentioned any kind of vocals to it. But do you any guesses?
Well,
I think it's Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah.
Let's have a listen. Is that correct?
Let's see. I felt too.
We don't have an answer to put up.
To the moon.
There it is. Good job.
Moby's like, I got this.
One for one. There we go. Fly Me to the Moon by the great Frankie Blue Eyes. That's Number two. Let's do another one.
okay, I got it already.
Go. What do you got?
L-O-V-E?
Yes, that's correct. Let's just show the answer because I'm sure we prepared the graphic for it. That sounds
Nat
about
King
right.
Cole, right?
Yes.
Right?
Nat King Cole's the
Nat King
original.
Cole, right? Yes.
So many of these jazz songs have been redone and covered. There we go. L-O-V. Yes. Teaches. Yeah.
It's for the way you look at me. Yeah.
You know, it's a great song and it's educational. It teaches you spelling.
Thank you.
One more, right?
One more.
Here we go.
Okay.
They're good at this, by the way. I'm trying to guess it to myself.
This one's hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Any
That's
guesses?
just a little spill.
I have no clue.
Sounds like every other jazz song.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I was thinking. I didn't want to say it, but what's the answer?
Yes.
We all need
We
to
need
know.
to hear this.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I love this girl. That's right.
But that was just really in the front part of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Outside. Usually it's Christmas time when this song comes out, right?
Well, don't worry. 2 out of 3 is still 66%, which is a passing grade, which means you've kept your grades up. You're allowed to continue to play jazz. Anyway, what's next for you guys after this release of the latest single? What have you got next?
We're processing an album.
Okay.
Nice. A full album?
Hopefully.
Wow, that's great.
When do you think it's going to be out? Yep.
People want to know.
Sorry.
Probably by next year, yeah.
All right.
2023. There you go, guys.
Hopefully early.
Yes.
2023. We don't
Mark
wait too
that
long.
year. Duo Moby Sade, thank you so much for being here with the guys. Thank you. You really made our day today. Yes, and hopefully we'll meet you guys soon again right here in our studio. But as of right now, we're going to take another break. When we return, we have a recap of our news from the previous segment, so stay with us. You guys are not going to play again, please? Let's play again. We would love to.
Thank you,
Do you want to
guys.
sing?
Hello and a very good afternoon. afternoon to all of you. And for the next few hours, we'll bring you the latest from Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and around the world.
With more of a whisper than a resounding clang, Greece has shed another restriction, dating back to its painful financial bailout.
Schools in Demak regions in central Java have become Thai-toe alba owls conservationists. These barn owls are considered friends with farmers as they can help to prey on rats in rice fields.
Longing for a short getaway where you can be away from people but still be productive?
You can! Come down here at Bidadari Island where you can learn a thing or two about the history.
This paradise island is more than just white sands and Tuscan blue waters.
You're not an outdoorsy type? Well, so am I. Don't be dismissive of the idea because
we're gonna get in touch with nature and hopefully have fun while at it. See the beauty only on See Indonesia.
Come see the beauty only on See Indonesia.
Endingnya ada panjangnya apa tuh? My dream. Oke, bisa bahasa ngalah?
Bisa.
Coba.
Matur suwun.
Wah, cuma segitu saja.
Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk with me, Paul Palelli.
Let's say hello to Bebo and the Buds.
Hey guys! Oh, this is your assistant, Trey.
Hi, my name is Palelli.
For us, going like solo right now is like a refreshing.
I'm actually not good at acting because I'm too real.
Well, it's time for another Buddy Challenge. It's the only word I know.
Snake specialist Nirut Chamnath has dedicated the last 20 years of his life to the study of these reptiles. Snakes are born survivors, able to endure the toughest conditions, and they've adapted well to a range of habitats across Thailand.
Hi, my name is Grace.
Haven't you eaten since morning?
Not yet.
Ada yang harus saya konsumsi nggak ya, Dok? Tarik nafas yang dalam.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, and we have the recap of our earlier segment on local updates, and we begin with our first story, where on Tuesday, Indonesia Youth and Sports Minister Zainuddin Amali delivered updates regarding the Indonesian Football Association's exceptional Congress to President Joko Widodo. The Congress, which has become an aftermath of Kanjuruhan Stadium tragedy, was moved from November 2023 to early next year. Speaking to the press after a meeting at Merdeka Palace, Central Jakarta, Minister Zainuddin Amali stressed that the government will not intervene with the Congress process and its results. The association is an independent organization with capabilities to solve internal issues on their own. Based on the meeting with 12 executive committee members on Friday, the 28th of October, the Indonesian Football Association has agreed to hold an exceptional Congress on March 18, 2023. They have sent a recommendation letter to FIFA on this issue and is currently waiting for the Federation response until next Monday, the 7th of November.
Kita pemerintah dalam posisi tidak ikut campur, apalagi intervensi dalam pelaksanaan KLB yang sudah diputuskan oleh PSSI, karena itu menjadi ranah PSSI. Silakan dilaksanakan sesuai dengan apa yang telah mereka putuskan.
In another news and in positive light, Indonesian state-owned enterprise PT Pupuk Indonesia opened a representative office in the United Arab Emirates capital on Monday. The company seeks to further expand its trading business and gain broader access to raw materials and other industrial developments.
October the 31st marked the opening day of PT Pupuk Indonesia Representative Office in the United Arab Emirates' capital of Dubai. The Dubai office is expected to provide easier access to raw materials, especially for the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium or NPK fertilizer. It is also expected to enable future collaborations with a number of technology and manufacturing companies located in the UAE.
The goal of this office is in the short term, this office will operate as representative office, but in the midterms, it will become a trading office of Pupuk Indonesia. The goal is, of course, to increase the EBITDA of the Pupuk Indonesia Group.
During the launching event, the Indonesian state-owned enterprise also signed an MOU with Vertiglobe, the largest nitrogen fertilizer producer in the Middle East and North Africa, and the world's largest seaborne exporter of ammonia and urea. Vertiglobe is listed on the Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange.
And I think this is actually one of the steps for Pupuk Indonesia to become one of the major global force in terms of trading, whether it is actually related to the basic materials that is actually required for producing fertilizers, to ensure that Indonesia secure the fertilizer and for the food security of Indonesia, and also to develop the future sales and distribution globally for mainly the main product such as ammonia and urea, but I think also beyond that, we see that there is a potential for Pupuk Indonesia to also develop green-related products such as green and blue hydrogen and ammonia.
As one of Asia's largest producers of ammonia and urea, Pupuk Indonesia has more than 50 years of experience in producing and exporting ammonia and urea, made possible through complete facilities. In 2021, the export volume of Pupuk Indonesia reached around 2 million tons of urea and 715,000 tons of ammonia.
All right, everyone. So we're scheduled for another short break. And meanwhile, don't forget to follow our social media accounts. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and also YouTube at our handle, See Today News. We'll be right back.
Kulit itu untuk jadi jaket paling butuh 1 ekor atau 2 ekor domba. Ternyata setelah saya terjun di industri ini, saya baru tahu bahwa untuk membuat sebuah jaket kulit saja itu setidaknya membutuhkan sampai 4 ekor domba.
Lakukan aja yang bisa kita lakukan, hal sekecil apapun gitu yang bisa kita lakukan, ya lakukan saja gitu. Jangan sampai harus nunggu dulu, tapi lakukan aja hal sekecil apapun gitu.
Tulung Agung is a small city that stores many varieties of culture and culture based on local wisdom. The people of Tulung Agung in general have a culture or tradition that is passed down from generation to generation. One of them is the ancestral heritage of coffee. Coffee is not an original commodity from Tulung Agung Regency, but Tulung Agung typical coffee is part of the heritage in the era of the Dutch colonial.
We'll visit massive factories and master craftsmen. We'll experience unique ways in which things are made and even test some of them out. Rock and roll! Needless to say, this will be pretty epic.
Oh, wow.
I'm Justin Bratton. Join me as I uncover some of the best, the most colorful, and the most innovative bespoke products on the market today.
Siapa sejak dini untuk masa depan. Aras ini sangat visi misi.
Visioner, bukan visi misi. Kalau visi misi, visi foya, misi foya, visi misi, foya, foya.
Other tracks on the top 10 include Lavender Haze, Maroon, Snow on the Beach featuring Lana Del Rey, and Midnight Rain. Swift's dominance also marks the first time in history that were no male artists in the top 10 of the Hot 100. The 32-year-old has set a number of new records with Midnight. It had the biggest first week of sales of any album this year, almost doubling the numbers of the previous title holder, Harry's House, the third solo album by Harry Styles. Midnight also had the highest first week streams of the year with 72.5 minutes, again beating Styles' figures of 53.9 minutes.
Alright, so let's talk about Midnight. Came out 21st of October with 13 tracks and of course a deluxe version with 7 bonus tracks, right? It has one of the biggest album launch in nearly 7 years, and Billboard also reported that Swift now ties with who? Barbra Streisand.
Wow.
For the female artist with the most #1 albums forever. All right. Yeah. And her #1 spot on the Billboard chart belongs to Anti-Hero, whose lyric is "It's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me," have also become a TikTok trend. And you know, there's the other song is Lavender Haze, Maroon, Snow on the Beach, Midnight Rain, and Bejeweled, and Question.
Oh, Tay, you can never be a problem. So, in the past 60-year history, 64-year to be exact, of the Billboard Hot 100, this has never been done. The closest the person that came closest was Drake. He had 9 of the top 10 in the Billboard Hot 100 in September of 2021 when he released his album. But this one topped it by just 1 more. So obviously this is such a huge thing. She also adds 10 new Hot 100 top 10s, and now boasts the top most among women with 40, surpassing Madonna with 38. Among all acts, including men, she trails only Drake, who has 59. So a little bit more way to go to catch Drake overall, but hey, she's getting there.
Wow, the Canadian versus the American fight right there.
I don't know who to root for, I'll be honest with you. So, anyway, on that note, wow, we're almost out of time. It's been great.
2 tag team today.
A little bit extra work, but we were able to carry the load. But thank you so much for joining us as well this morning and welcoming us into your homes. We certainly had a blast bringing you all the news and updates, along with that special music performance. Make sure you do support Duo Mobi Sadi as well. And do follow all our social media accounts for the latest updates. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at See Today News.
All right, so still early in the morning, guys. Please remember to continue observing health protocols. Visit your closest healthcare facilities to be vaccinated if you haven't done so.
And in case you missed it, we're now also available on Foxtel's Flash Australia, Macau Cable TV Channel 84, Vision Philippines Channel 58, and in Singapore on Singtel Channel 15 and StarHub Channel 720. All right?
All right.
See Indonesia, see the world, see today.
Adios.
I'm Brett McGregor, and since I won New Zealand's MasterChef, I've been doing a lot of travelling. Travel broadens the mind and the palate. I want to taste intense flavours, share inspiring recipes, and make new friends around the world.